Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome to a Planet Zoo tutorial all about paths and plazas. If you find this video useful, please make sure you click that subscribe button because we're going to have loads more tutorial and let's play content from Planet Zoo here on the channel. We're over here in our beta franchise park and we're going to take a look at some tips and tricks for getting the most out of your paths. The path system is a little janky in Planet Zoo. It's pretty much a crossover from Planet Coaster and had similar sort of issues, but with a little bit of time, a little bit of effort and a little bit of patience, most importantly, you can usually get it to do what you want it to do. But it does help to have some hints and tips and make sure you've got some keyboard shortcuts that are going to help you get where you need to be. So we're going to move out of the way so we've got a little bit of space. We're going to pause the game as well so we don't start losing loads of money while we mess around with paths. Okay then, so opening up the path system then, first of all, very simply, you can place paths down by clicking and then clicking again to have them go where you want to. You can make each piece longer by using, or shorter, by using the plus and minus keys. You'll find those just at the right hand side of your numbers on the keyboard, and you can make them longer or shorter as you want them to, and you can make them fatter or wider using the curly braces there to get lots of different options as well. Obviously you can change these down here, but while you're building it's usually quicker to be able to just sort of come in and change the options there. Sometimes the pass will always try and connect to where you're working on. Sometimes you might not want that. You might want a second path just sort of over here somewhere. Holding down the control key will stop the paths snapping. So you wanted a little piece here. Once you click, and then you should be able to run it alongside where you want it to go. You'll see the angle snap here is turned on and off by pressing space. So in fact, we'll make it a little bit longer so you can see this. So you can see it's currently snapping to 15-degree angles. If I press space, you'll see that it suddenly becomes much smoother, and we can click and do whatever we want with it. So there you go. Next up, we'll talk about connecting paths together. So say we want to come off here with this path. If we just click, we can do so, which is fine, and we can carry on. Sorry, it looks a little bit phallic. We can bring one in from this way. So say we wanted to connect over here. Let's bring these up so we can see. There's a new option that wasn't in Planet Coaster, but is in this one, and that is the use T-junction while joining path. So say we come down here, you'll see that it will always force a You'll see that it will always force a T-junction, meaning that it's always at a 90-degree angle when it joins. Holding down the Z key will get rid of that for you, and it gives you these nice sort of forks in the roads that are much more natural and more likely what you're going to be using. Paths can go up and down as well. You're going to be using the U and the J keys to make that happen. So U for up and J for down, I guess. They work like so. You can have those curved as well, or if you want to turn off curves on heights, you can do curved slopes there, you'll see. Lots of different options here as well. We're going to talk about those briefly. So going in here then, path supports, those are bars that come out from underneath the paths when they're raised up high, so you can have them turned on by default, or if you want to turn them off to make your own, you can do that. Curb on ground path basically does as it says in the tin, adds a curb. I usually keep that off because I often like to do my own curbs. You can also make railings appear as well. There we go. And these are really quite nice. These are quite useful sometimes. Again, I prefer to often do my own, but you can find these to be actually quite nice. And usually each path, as in each path pattern, there's a bit of a bug at the moment, it means you have to go back and forth. Each path pattern has its own railing built in, so you can go through and you can find a path and railing combo that you like the look of. It's also a very quick way to get some nice bit of detail. Look at that one, fancy railing. Now, one of the big problems with the path system in the Planet series is that it just makes paths that are lines, and you can just sort of have lines weaving through your park or your zoo, and it's not such a big a deal in zoos as it is in theme parks, to be honest with you, where theme parks is you don't really have paths, you just kind of have space on the ground that isn't rides, and more sort of like open plazas. Zoos, you do find that you do have some more windy paths in certain areas. It's not so bad, but sometimes you might want to open this up a little bit and make a more natural looking plaza area. So I'm going to very briefly show you how to do this, but the fantastic Silverette, who's a really great Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo player, I'm sure, did a really great tutorial on how to make really natural looking plazas using the path system in Planet Coaster. Because it's so similar to the Planet Zoo one, there's no point in me going over it all here, so I'm going to link a link in the description that gives you it's a 20-minute video by him that shows you not only how to do this really well, but also some of the theory behind it and why it is like it is, using real world examples. It's really great. But let's just go back to paths, and I'm just going to turn everything off for a second to make this really sort of clear. And we'll just use a really plain path, and we'll come over here. So it's still got railings on, that's fine. Snap along barriers, we'll turn all those off. Okay, so first of all we'll drop the length down to start off with. Okay, and then we'll raise it up and do it. So it's a nice way of making a big plaza is you're going to want to come in and do something like this, and then we're going to come away from that using control. Oh, it's still wanting to snap. That's weird. Let's just drop the length down. That might help. Yeah, seems to. There we go. Then we'll bring that in. There we go. And then bring that over here. And making sure that if we need to, we're using Z to stop that happening. And we get something like that. We've got a little bit of a bug there, but looks like it's gone. That's okay. And then using the path again, we're going to click. Again, holding Z is the best way to do this. You're going to choose somewhere for it to go, click in, and again on this side, choose somewhere for it to go, click in, and what you're left with is these tiny little triangles. And there's a few things you can do with them, but first of all I want to talk about another thing here very briefly. You can see there's a little corner there that isn't very natural. It wouldn't probably happen. What you're going to do is whenever you get a corner like that, you're going to click to start adding over the path, and then right click to get rid of it, and you'll see that the game automatically smooths that out. I'll show you over here with a slightly more obvious corner to show you how that really looks. Okay, so when you've got a corner like this, what you can do is use your mouse to just find the way in there with a bit of path. It's trying to push some path out of it. If you click, then right click, and the game will automatically smooth that out for you. And again, you can do it again, left click, right click, and it'll just keep going, keep smoothing it. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is a bug. This isn't taught anywhere. It's not very intuitive, to be honest with you, and I think it's just a sort of remnant of how the system works, but it's a great way of getting really big areas of path like that. The only problem with this is it does make it all one piece. If you do want to get rid of it, it's all going to go away in one go, unfortunately. But coming back over to here, what you can do with these triangles, there's a few things you can do. First of all, you can hide them. So if we come into architecture and go to our roof pieces, and then find we've got the word brick in the search bar there, excuse me, and then find like a plain asphalt roof here. Now obviously this is only going to be dependent on whether or not the path that you're using is the same sort of color as the floor, and also you've got to get that Z fighting just right. It looks like we haven't got the right spot for it here. Let's try somewhere else. Again, this isn't always going to work, unfortunately. What you're going to be doing is just trying to get that Z up so it works. Now, unfortunately not, but even that doesn't look awful. I suppose it looks like it's been covered up with a bit of asphalt. But the other thing you can do then, if you can't hide it, is draw attention to it. So instead, let's go into roof trims. Actually, no, not roof trims. Let's go into wall decorations. There we go. I'm just trying to. The menus are a little different to Planco, so I'm still getting used to them. Something like this that acts as a curb. You can place this in down here. Now, obviously, I'm going to do this really quickly just to get it done for the tutorial. But obviously, you can spend a lot more time making this look right. But you can do something like that, and then stick a something like a poplar. Do we have poplars in this? Yeah, but they're pretty big. What if we got this little? we have some cypress trees. They are perfect. So you can place something like that in there. You can even go as far as finding a piece of mulch that will fit. We have these little pieces of mulch that we can go in as well. And from that, you're going to get a really great little bit of centerpiece there. The guests will walk around. They're not going to clip into them or anything like that. And it gives you some really nice natural paths. Again, I've kind of blitzed through that because I really want you to go and watch that Silverette video. It covers all of this and more in that. Now let's have a look at some of the path features when it comes to Planet Zoo specifically and how to use them with exhibits. So the main difference with paths in Planet Zoo is you now have the ability to attach them to the side of a barrier. So let's just get a good chunk of glass barrier down here. Let's start like that so we can do a big curve on it. There we go. And I'll do a bit of straight as well. Now if we go into paths, you'll see there's an option in the settings to snap alongside barriers, and you can see as I get over there, it pops over onto it. Let's make it a little thinner so we can see that. There we go, and actually the length helps here. If you've got a bit more length, it will automatically snap it alongside that barrier. It does leave around about a foot, but that's a collision thing with the barriers, so that's kind of the best you've got to go with. You can either use this for some seating, or you can maybe just put some light flaring in there or something like that. But that's a really useful thing. Now bear in mind that only works that way round. There is no way currently to snap barriers to paths, which would be quite useful. So when you are doing your exhibits, make sure that you've put a bit of barrier down first so you can place your paths in. You can obviously, if you want to do an adjustment, you can come into the barrier and adjust them around as you need to, but you'll see that they only ever let you go about that sort of inch away, or a foot away, I suppose it would be, wouldn't it, in the game. But from that path, once that's in, you can do some you can hold down Z and come off and carry on to another direction. And then whenever you get little lumps like this here, you can click and come out, and it'll just sort of smooth them out. That's the main thing I want you to take away from this one, that click and remove and Z. That's what's going to give you the nice smooth paths like what you see here. Awesome. Right, I hope that's useful for you. Hope that helps. I know people do have troubles with paths. If there's anything specific that you're really struggling with, let me know in the comments. I'll try and get back to you if I can. And as far as exhibits and paths go to create things like underwater sections, like we've got here with our monitor lizards, or raised up sections like we have here in our wolves, which are now painted dogs, but this is coming out before that episode, so shush, don't tell anybody. Or even underground exhibits like this one, so you can come and see the little doggies having a sleep. We'll cover all that sort of stuff in a separate tutorial, so make sure you keep it here and click subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks very much for watching. Until the next one, be good.